So for our second topic, we're going to have a look at attracting new candidates into your business, and then obviously how you sort of train them well and keep your teams trained well generally over time. Um, I suppose then starting on the first part, how do you successfully attract new people to your business? Whether that's Sava graduates or whether that's you know experienced surveyors generally. Do you have thoughts on um, the best ways of attracting new people to?
That's really interesting, and I'm not sure quite how um, residential surveyors and valuing businesses, quite how they go about attracting new blood into the sort of profession.
Mm,
And if I'm honest with you, I don't think they do. And I completely get why, because that's not what they're about. Traditionally, I think it was very much left to the big corporate employers, Countrywide Connells, etc. And they would just basically troll around the universities, the graduates, and pick up graduates, and that was the
mm,
only new blood coming in. We are, I think, one of the things that we have done, and I'm not sure that people really appreciate how much effort goes into this. One of the things we have done is we've invested a huge amount in our marketing processes and our sort of kind of sales processes and sales channels, because we are getting out there and finding people who may not have thought surveying was an option. And it's not easy, and it is a bit of a needle in a haystack job, but we look to generate a certain number of leads every week, because we know that only a small percentage of those leads will actually turn into potential sales for all the right reasons, because it's not for them or whatever. So we have these target on leads that we look for every week in order to keep our sort of kind of funnel of new blood coming through. I think uh, that it's probably fair to say that, other than the new graduates that still come through on various corporate programs, we are probably the key route for bringing new blood into the profession. Because certainly when we started this qualification, there was basically, it was a bit of a closed shop, and everybody was chasing the same dwindling pool of surveyors, and people were just jumping from one firm to one other firm to another firm. There was no fresh blood coming in, and that was one of the drivers to create the qualification in the first place. So I think, it's hard work, but I think we're good at it. I think we're very good at it. But we have a PR company. We place stories in national media, and main media as well. We've been trying to place something recently in the Metro, I think, about one of our graduates who was a salon to surveyor, because she started as a hairdresser and
yeah,
came through our process. She won the RICS Young Surveyor last year in the residential category. And it's so we invest a lot in that sort of thing to spark people's ideas.
yeah.
Yeah, and it takes quite a long time. I think the average of somebody being in our CRM before they buy a course is about 18 months. And I know that recently we had one guy start a course, and he said, "I first contacted you 8 years ago." And it
Wow.
took him 8 years to commit. So, and that's fair enough. It take that length of time to work out that this was really for him.
But it ties in with what you said as well about working out that's for you and having the right support at the right time, and yeah, everything has to align, doesn't it? But
Yeah, yeah.
from the candidates that, or your graduates, sorry, off the program, do you know what they're typically looking for from a surveying firm?
No,
I see every vary, but are there?
it's very varied. It's very, very varied. It would depend on their background. It would depend on their experiences. We've got the average age of our the average age of our learners is mid to late 30s. So by definition, most people have done something else. So therefore, what they have done will then influence where they go afterwards. So, quite about 2 3 years ago now, we had a graduate who had been in the police force, and he found the bureaucracy of being in the police completely stifling, and he knew that there was no way that he could cope in a big corporate environment. That was what he wanted to get out of.
Yeah,
So he's actually ended up now self-employed, and he has got his own practice, because that was what that was what he needed, that escape from that corporate world. But you'll have others who, actually, they do want the company car, they want the salary, they don't want to worry about where the next job is coming from, and they want that safety net that some of the larger employers will put in place. So it's a bit horses for courses. You can't There's no sort of one size fits all, really.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so I suppose my next question then, as a training provider, obviously you're very skilled at this side of things. So, if you are bringing someone new into your business, particularly if it's a Sava graduate, as an example, someone sort of newer to the industry, um, how can you support them better, and what does a good training program look like from a perspective of starting through to ongoing reviews?
Uh, it, so that will depend on the businesses. Businesses like eServe, they will usually take on graduates at about 80% through the process. They don't wait for them to finish. And then, because of the way they work with their lenders, they have quite a structured kind of induction process, which gradually means that, an individual will build up the number of inspections and valuations that they do a day, and they'll start with the vanilla stuff and get onto the more and more complicated. It's very much a hand holding and a risk managed process because of the way they work with their lender clients. Smaller businesses, I think it's a case of you have to make a judgment on the learner. And again, it's a bit of a not of a one size fits all. So if you've got somebody who has been running their own business, perhaps, who's got a lot of experience on site, um, you would need to have a sort of a much more sort of flexible and open approach, almost to what can they teach you as much as what can you teach them. Um, Recognize that when people leave us, they are not experienced surveyors, they are new surveyors, but they could be very experienced in something else, and work to those skills, if you like. If somebody is really, really skilled at communication because they were in marketing perhaps before, then work with them to review all of your communication processes with your customers. And while you and they are doing that, then
Yeah,
that will include report writing and the delivering of reports, and you will begin to meld together. So I think it's a tricky one to answer. Just recognize they're not experienced, they're new surveyors, but they could be incredibly experienced in other environments. Like the policeman, really, really experienced on health and safety. My goodness
yeah,
me, walking up a drive with him, he will see risks that as a surveyor you wouldn't even occur to you, because he will have been acutely trained around sort of crime scenes and risks associated with those sorts of things, and very different to you walking up thinking, oh well, it's uh, age of the property, or location, things like that. It's I think it's really interesting how how a graduate could potentially enrich what you already do as a small business.
that's an interesting point then. Actually, so is it? I suppose it's quite important to try and look at people you bring on having being different to you in terms of not just
Well,
forcing having the same
I
thought
mean,
process.
not everybody is, mid late
Yeah,
30s. I mean, we've got some people now, we've got several people on the course who 21, 22. They won't
yeah,
have those sort of experiences. But, if somebody has been doing something for the
yeah,
last 15, 20 years, they have got a lot to offer you. It really, just because it wasn't surveying. just because it might have been they were in the army, they were in the RAF, they were in the police force, they were teachers. They will have skills and experiences and knowledge that you won't have, and it's like and that makes it much richer, actually, that we're not just cloning lots of new sort of surveyors and blank sort of slates. What we're doing is we're making it, I believe we're making the profession more varied and more interesting.
If you're then a surveyor that wants to see how you can potentially help from I don't know, a trainer perspective or assessor perspective, and help with new people coming through that are already on the course, are there ways they can get involved with
Yeah,
that?
that's yes, that's a really good question, right? Because this only we are only successful because of our assessor and trainer team. There's no doubt about it. We are always on the lookout for assessors in particular. We've got a team of about 40 at the moment, assessors. Now they drop in and then drop off, but because of the arrangement we have with RICS, they have to be chartered surveyors. We have to use RICS. You can be ASSOT rigs as well, but you have to be RICS members. So we're always looking for assessors to bring on board. We put you through a training process because we're Ofqual regulated. Assessment has to be done in a certain structured way that meets the Ofqual standards, and we'll train and induct you into that process. And we tend to recruit our trainers now from the assessor pool. So if the assessors sort of kind of get it and are seen to be committed and engage with us, then we might sort of start to bring them forward to train. Training is a bit of a skill. It's a bit of an art form. So it's not only about having the technical knowledge, but it's about being able to share that technical knowledge, and not everybody can. And in fact, some people are really, really good in a live environment, and some people are really good in a virtual classroom environment, and some people are great in small groups of 10 but useless in the classroom. So we work, then we usually, as I say, pick from our assessors and then bring them on to our training, into the training cohort, depending on where they are most comfortable and where their communication skills are sort of best suited. But if anybody is interested in being an assessor, give us a ring.
I can imagine it's quite a useful thing to do because it gives you a chance yourself to reflect on what you know
Oh,
and how well you're
absolutely.
communicating it. Because if you're not able to communicate it well to a learner, potentially you're not then communicating it as well as you could be in a report to a customer, because it's the same
Do you
thing you're
know
having to do.
what? I completely agree. I think our assessors in particular, I think they get a huge amount of value from what they do with us, because so even though you're assessing on your own, you are in a network, you're sort of kind of supervised, not quite the right word, but can't think of a better one for the moment, but by a more experienced assessor. But there's always the opportunity to discuss and to evaluate and to consider things. And I think the assessors really value that. It gives, especially if you've been a sort of a sole practitioner or in a very small business, the ability to sit down with a group of like-minded people and sort of discuss how evaluation was done, or discuss an approach to this, or whether that fits certain lending criteria. I think they find that really valuable, and we provide a lot of CPD for our assessors. I think some of them just rely on us for the CPD for their and actually assessing. It's a great way to give back to the profession as well.
There's quite a few benefits in there. I think one of the other one is just that social aspect. I would imagine, because it's for a lot of people, particularly if you're a sole practitioner, you're out on the road a lot on your own. So there's opportunities to network and get back together, which is quite good. Interestingly, I suppose we'll move on. So tune in for sustainability and everything around sustainability and surveying.